spilling blood over what we think is right. None of that shit matters when you die. Said God is out there watching the big golden chair, running their fingers through their hair. Don't think they mind a little anarchy, so why don't we shake things up a little?
Good evening, everyone. How's it going? How are you? Welcome to Reverb, a Queer History Experience Part 3 Queercore. This is presented by the American LGBTQ+ Museum in partnership with Culture Lab LIC. My name is Essie Lucier. I'm the Director of Public Programs and Partnerships at the American LGBTQ+ Museum.
I'm Suhaili Bautista Carolina. I'm the Chief of Programs at the American LGBTQ+ Museum, and we're so glad that you are here. Thanks, Ben. How many people have attended an American LGBTQ+ Museum program before? Yes, I love that most of you haven't, because now you get to. Thanks for being here. For those of you encountering the museum for the first time, I want to tell you a little bit about the museum. The American LGBTQ+ Museum is a new collaboration dedicated to preserving, researching, and sharing LGBTQ+ history and culture. The museum's vision is a world in which all people work towards and experience the joy of liberation. In our first physical location, which opens in 2027, yes, so exciting! New York's newest museum, that's us, will tell the stories of queer peoples in this country, past and present, and in the continuum of time that connects us to our rich and powerful queer legacy. The museum will be a beacon for people around the country and around the world who haven't yet tasted queer liberation. It will be a space of celebration, commemoration, and deep meaning, a space where the connection to our ancestors will be strong and queer magic real. ALM will also be a space for activists, partnering with others who work towards the liberation of LGBTQ+ peoples and supporting the work of rising generations who will fight for new possibilities for queer peoples and for all peoples. So we need that right now. You do not have to wait until 2027, even though I've been saying that for like 2 years, and I feel like it just gets closer and closer, and so the timeline is actually not as far as it was when I started saying that, to experience the queer magic of the museum. You can attend our public programs, traveling exhibitions, you can tell a friend about us, you can follow us on social media, you can become a founding member and have your name on our donor wall when we open. You can subscribe to our newsletter, or you can join our queer book club, the Lavender Literary Society. Some of our team members are here tonight, so if you're curious about ways to get involved, please find us and we'll be happy to share more.
Yeah. So now a little bit about why we're all here this evening. Reverb is an immersive program series that connects the echoes of queer history to the present through captivating history lessons and live performances. Each event features a blend of lecture, music, dance, and interactive experiences all set within a casual speakeasy atmosphere like we're in right now. Participants can explore archival materials and ephemera that highlight a unique aspect of queer history, showcasing how its reverberations continue to shape and influence the queer community. This evening, we will take a deep dive into the relationship between queerness and punk culture in 2 parts. We will open with part 1, a panel moderated by activist, musician, and American LGBTQ+ Museum board member, Andy Bowen, featuring journalist, scholar, teacher, and drummer Candace Hansen, activist and musician Eevie Echoes, and songwriter, journalist, and activist Jael Holzman of Ekko Astral. We'll have a brief intermission where you're invited to have a drink at the bar, interact with the flyer wall in the back, engage with a selection of classic punk zines. I hope you got to check that out, but there's always intermission. And in part 2, we will experience live performances by Eevie Echoes and A Total Wreck.
Now we'd like to introduce you to our panelists and moderator. Candace Hansen is a drummer, scholar, artist, event producer, and PhD candidate studying and teaching at UCLA's Herb Alpert School of Music and the Department of Gender Studies, writing for LA Times and Spin, and drumming for the Alice Bag Band, Dimber, and the Josie Wreck Noise Orchestra. How do you do that? All that stuff. Gosh. Oh my goodness. Hansen is working on an oral history project about the feminist punk festival Girl Fair and compiling a collection of their journalism and music for the Candace Hansen Papers collection to be housed at the CSUF Special Collections Archive, Love and Archive. Starting out as a sinister, Hansen's award-winning journalism is grounded in DIY ethos and punk spirit. So many recent features, I'm not even gonna try to list them, there's so many. Don't play yourself by not reading the bios on our websites, please. And has collaborated with organizations like the Huntington, LA Zine Fest, the LA Public Library, and many, many more.
Round of applause, a little bit. Okay, next we have Eevie Echoes. Is the visionary frontwoman and creative force behind the experimental rock band Eevie Echoes and The Locations, known for her ethereal yet powerful vocal style and genre-bending approach to music. She has carved out a unique space in the underground music scene, blending elements of post-punk, dream pop, and electronic soundscapes. With a background in both music and visual arts, she is a multidisciplinary artist whose work spans beyond the stage. Woo!
Jael Holzman is the frontsperson and creative mind behind the genre-defying project Ekko Astral. Known for blending elements of synth pop, ambient, and experimental rock, Holzman crafts music that transcends traditional boundaries using atmospheric soundscapes and introspective lyrics to create a deeply immersive listening experience. With a background in both music production and visual arts, Holzman combines their musical talents with a unique visual identity, bringing a multisensory approach to every release and live performance.
Great, and finally, it is my pleasure to introduce our panel moderator for tonight's Reverb experience. Andy Bowen is a seasoned activist focused on securing resources and rights for marginalized communities, especially transgender people, immigrants, and sex workers. She founded the Popular Front Project after working in the New York City mayor's office, where she was often the only trans person in the room. She pushed leadership to publicly support trans communities during a time of rising federal hostility. Previously, Andy led Bowen Public Affairs Consulting, which is now Collective Public Affairs, lobbying for increased city funding to LGBTQ+ and economic justice organizations. She has a long-standing passion for moving public dollars to oppressed people and has won major victories in areas such as healthcare access, identity document reform, and job equity for trans and queer people in New York, New Jersey, and the District of Columbia. So without further ado, please welcome our panelists and our moderator for this evening.
Shared this in the back.
You should be disgusting.
Honestly, I think one of my greatest achievements is being on a spit chain with Kurt Cobain and Toby Vale.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I said it. Hi, thank you all. Thank you, Sahaley and Lucy, and the entire damn LGBTQ museum staff. Please give them a round of applause. Lucy is LGBTQ museum employee number 1. And I said this in a meeting preparing for this thing. I was like, Lucy can do literally anything. I think targeted assassinations, delivering children, definitely sound and putting together events, just literally everything. And that holds for literally every person that has been hired ever since. I do not understand how this hiring happens. Thank you, Jael, Hansen, Eevie. Y'all are fucking awesome, and I think one of my favorite things about this event so far is that y'all came on board, and now I'm like, oh, you're my friends now. So anyway, hi, thank you all for being here. This rules times a million, so thank you. Thank you, Cultural Lab LIC. You're kind of my neighbor now, owing to kind of being near my girlfriend's place. Okay, so hi, I'm Andy Bowen, activist, and honestly, just like a hanger-on. I think I'm a star fucker, actually. First of all, I'm gonna give you a little preamble, facilitator's privilege. I got like what? When do I stop? Lucy, Sahaley? When am I supposed to stop? What? Oh, sick. No, I wanna know so I can look at my watch.
40 minutes.
This punk. Cool. All right, sick. Okay. Cool, whatever. So I want to run through sort of like what we're doing, why we're here. And then I want everyone to like do just a little bit of cute shit that's not in your bio. You can explain why you're not a visual artist, Jael. And then we're going to run through the actual questions we're doing. So anyway, dearly beloved, we're gathered here today to get through this thing, which is a question of how and whether we, as queer punks, have claimed some victory over punk music and culture. Can we get excited about that? Can we claim some victory? Can we claim some, did we always claim a victory? Did we always win? Had we always won? Do we have to claim a victory, or did we just always fucking win? I don't even know.
I'm tired of winning.
I'm tired of winning. Oh! Can we oh! I don't do quiet crowds, so you better fucking participate, or I'm making you participate. I'm coming down there. Okay, so we're not just here to talk about punk, although we're gonna talk about that. And we're gonna give definitions of punk, all that boring shit. But like, we're gonna give, no, I don't really like that part. That was a bullet point I don't really enjoy. We're gonna talk about punk, we're gonna define it. If you're like new to the entire concept, like when I like cut my teeth in DC with like all of the like Ian MacKaye and like Discord Records people, it was sort of like punk as a culture, punk as a state of mind. Was that a pretty good impersonation? I think that was a pretty good impersonation. I think it was a pretty good one.
Yeah, it was good.
Or like Chad Clark, like punk is something other than. Yeah, that was a good Chad Clark impersonation too. But like we're talking about like a culture. We're going to try to, I think, give you a punk rock starter pack. It might not be explicit, but you're going to hear it in what we say. And beyond that, we're going to try to respond to this idea that I started with, which I think we're probably going to explode, eat, step on, raise to the gods, which is, what do we make between the relationship between queerness and punk? And also, and get this, guys, queers, dearly beloved, all genders, punks, white supremacists, toxic masculinity, oi, skinhead branch, which includes such luminaries as John motherfucking Lydon, Johnny Rotten, yeah, I'm calling you out, MAGA fuckhead, Fat Mike, who I would like to re-educate, who are some other dumb fucks?
I tried, it didn't work.
Yo, belly of the beast, Morrissey. Yeah, we coming for you, Maz. Problematic fave. You know, those guys. So, you know, how do we get there? And, you know, I already own my own privilege, but we're also going to take a swerve because some shit happens and we have to respond to current events. So you're looking at a group of trans and non-binary punks here, right? And, right. We're talking about not just trans and non-binary punks. We're talking about BIPOC punks. We're talking about the entire universe of punk that is not the folks we're reacting to and saying no to, right? And we're talking about two punks, one who lives in DC, one who cut her teeth in DC, my Washington Peace Center shirt here. We got a punk who was in LA, the first place where Trump sent federal fucking troops. I mean, Eevie, you grew up in Brooklyn? You grew up in New York?
Born and raised, baby.
Born and raised. Might I say, when people come up to me, I'm like, oh, Andy, you're in New York, you're safe. I'm like, yo, did you ever notice that the NYPD is a fucking fifth column? I say that to people, and they're like, oh. And I worked for Eric Adams. And so, like, military occupation's on our mind, people. And so, like, we are thinking a lot about how punk history intertwines with all of this. And, like, we're going to talk a lot about the horror we're seeing literally today. We're going to talk about military checkpoints at 14th and W Northwest. home of the black cat, black cat, black cat. Does anyone know that reference? Black cat, black cat, black cat. A little money for the homeless? No? 'Cause that's a really dark fucking reference right now. Yeah, so anyway, Black Cat Bill, if you ever went to Black Cat Club back in the 1990s and early 2000s. We're going to talk about whether our punk communities are showing up like we hope in this moment of fucking fascism down trans people's necks, BIPOC people's necks, all of our fucking necks. So this is our conversation. We're going to talk about what we advertised for you. We're also going to be talking about some very raw shit that we did not expect to talk about 48 hours ago. So, any questions?
Is that your job?
It's a conversation. Moderate the moderator. It's punk. All right, cool. Hi, everybody.
I won't police you.
Yeah, it's a community. Excuse me.
I thought we were anti-police.
Was that?
I thought we were anti-police.
Yeah,
Am I
that's
in the
what.
wrong spot.
I
Fuck.
didn't go to positive.
questions.
I didn't go to positive force meetings just to like dictate shit. Actually, I did. Actually, sorry. Is this funny? Okay. Anyway, we can go into a whole history. Okay, guys. Okay, queers. I say guys. I'm trans. I can just say whatever the fuck I want right now. Jokes. All right. So, okay, with respect to claiming the question of queer people having space in punk rock, are we talking about a project of claiming punk or reclaiming punk? Are we claiming punk as in, we always had it, this was always ours, or are we reclaiming it? Or no, are we claiming it because we didn't have it, or are we reclaiming it because it was always ours? I don't know what words are. I'm drinking booze.
Well, it's a good question. So, hi, everybody. My name is Candace. I'm from Los Angeles.
I was hoping you'd answer.
I'm really honored to be here. Just very quickly, thank you so much, American LGBTQ Museum. And it's just been so beautiful to be here and to be a part of this event, just being a lifelong punk and a queer and a freak and a trans person. So I'm just really honored to be here. So this is a good question. Did queer and trans people and people of color reclaim, or are we claiming? Just coming from, so I like I was saying, I've been a member of the punk community in the Los Angeles area my whole life. I'm turning 40 this year. And basically, and I'm also now a historian and a journalist. And kind of the history of punk, as I'm sure we all know, is a history of queer and trans people and people of color creating art in the margins in oppressive situations, right? We don't think about the late 1970s as a general period of oppression, but it was the beginning of a very regressive era, you know, just like if we think about the Trump 1 period, it was kind of similar to that. There was a lot of a conservative turn at that time. Think about the Disco Sucks movement, right? Like that was a response to queer people and people of color taking up space on dance floors together and having something outside of the old school couple form. And so punk rock was like the evil twin of that, right? Like punk rock created a space for people of color, for women, for queer people to be creative, to let rage out, to be experimental. I play drums for Alice Bagg, who's like a legend in Los Angeles. And I've been playing drums for her for 10 years, which has been really beautiful. And so I hear all these stories about the past. But of course, I knew who she was before I met her and became friends with her. But the original scene in Los Angeles, she always says there was about 100 punks in the Mask, which was a literal underground club that was run by this freak weird guy named Brendan Mullen. But the original Los Angeles punk rock bands were like, there's a band called Nervous Gender nobody knows about. Nervous Gender was a queer, explicitly queer band. Gerardo Velasquez was a young Mexican gay man who wrote songs about fucking Jesus. Okay, that's the roots of, and then Alice is a bisexual Chicana hardcore singer, right? Who was, her first single that was really popular is a song called Survive, and it was about surviving a violent home life and also surviving the gangs in East LA. Or we have like Vaginal Davis, right, who's a black trans drag queen who always said she was too punk for the queer people, but too queer for her generation of punk, because she was a few years behind the original punks in Los Angeles. But so when I think about the punk roots that I'm pulling from, or the Screamers, right, the Screamers were like an all-gay band that started with synthesizers in 1976, right? And they started actually from a drag background, right? They were sexy punk guys by the time they got to their keyboards, but they were actually came from Z Whiz Kids, a drag troupe. So that
along with Black Flag and all the bros, that is actually the foundation of West Coast punk rock, is queer people, is people of color, is women, right? Is survivors, teenage girls who were survivors of abuse at home. So punk rock has always had this at its foundation, right? But at the same time, there has been, unfortunately, a magnet, because the thing about punk that is like, I think what draws a lot of us who are survivors and freaks and rebels and people that want to shake shit up is there is this there is a confrontation to it, right? And unfortunately, because punk is so wide and open to everyone, that makes space for everyone from like Fuck You Pay Us, right? Which are like incredible Black anarchist, punks who we love from LA. Also in Los Angeles, there are white supremacists in punk, right? And I think that like confrontational, anti-authority framework of punk creates an opportunity for everyone to come in and use it. But the thing that is sad is people don't always understand that the roots of punk are Black, they're brown, they're queer, they're femme, along with the oppressive guys, right? So, but as punk has gone on, it's rebranded, right? Every era has had a different idea of what punk is, and that's what I think when we get to us, like I'm a millennial, right? It feels almost like we had to reclaim some space in punk because by the time we got to it, it had become something different than it was in 1977, right? So it is a good question, Andy. It is both, this is queer culture, and also it has been an unsafe place for queer people simultaneously. So does that answer that question?
I think that's good. I'm gonna drop in administrative question or administrative comment in one thing. First of all, if there are any background things that you need or want, I put in a little thing up here. Decided that part of my job is going to be footnotes if anything's lost, because I heard disco sucks, and I know all about disco sucks. But if anybody wants to know more about disco sucks, we'll fill that in later. So I put in a little thing, any background you need or want. Also, death. So I got a pen up here, so if you ever hear anything that you're like, what is disco sucks? What is that? Come up here and write it. We'll fill it in later. Also, like, we know, like, people talk about the Velvet Underground as, like, proto-punk, but, like, also Death from Michigan.
Yeah.
Right. Black proto-punk.
Sick band.
Right. Like, we do not get Death in the same breath as the Velvet Underground and, like, MC5 and shit. So, like, the illusion continues, right? Anyway,
Yeah.
Jael. Please.
Well, I mean, I think you're turning to me because I'm from Washington D.C. I appreciate the lack of applause.
It's the nation's capital. It's Washington D.C.
People fucking hate D.C., but people don't understand that D.C. is not an object. It's a city that is majority Black and would be the queerest state in the country if it was granted statehood per capita. The population of the LGBTQ plus population there rivals New York, LA, San Francisco, but we don't talk about it that way because of what people think DC is. And I say that as a trans woman who watched a police checkpoint for Homeland Security get set up right by her fucking apartment last night. I'm the lead singer of a band called Ekko Astral. We put out a record last year that was rooted in the trans experience and queercore as a universal approach. So like the goal was to kind of bring people in. And I think one of the things that was most frustrating about the critical reception to that record and the way that not our own label marketed it, but like the way other people talked about it was like, oh, it's the new Fugazi. And I'm like, when people think of DC punk in general, it's like there's like a bunch of white guys and then Bad Brains, and people don't even know that like one of the Bad Brains guys is now like super MAGA, which is itself like, we didn't mention that one, but yeah.
Wait, JR or HR?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
He's got some problems.
There's some problems. No one goes to shows anymore. So like there's a, keying on what you said previously, like there's definitely a tendency, for like the men, the white guys, to become like the face of what was a movement that the energy was really being channeled by people who were really being oppressed. You know, there's a tendency to really lump that in and to create the figureheads out of that, and we're seeing that now with bands like Turnstile, you know, Military Gun. You know, I mean, I'm friends with the guys in Idols, but I think even they would admit that like they probably shouldn't be the only face of punk music in the UK. You know, I think that even just removing women from that perspective is a tendency that happens too often, cis or trans, because there's just a tendency to label aggressive music generally as more masculine, which is in itself misogynistic.
I mean, look, I grew up on pop punk. I was a Hot Topic kid, all right? A lot of my frame of reference for punk is like fucking Blink-182, 21 Pilots, MCR, Green Day, you know, Fall Out Boy. When Youngblood came along, we're like, all right, we'll take you too, I guess. He's a guy in a skirt, fuck it.
I saw a terrible Youngblood set once, like absolutely atrocious Youngblood set.
I hate to say it, but like I was low-key a stan for a while, back in my bisexual phase. It happens. It's not always a phase. For me, it was a phase. I'm now a proud lesbian. Oops.
Eevie, claim it.
Or reclaim it.
The lesbian
Claim it or
part?
reclaim it even.
Oh.
Sorry, that's a panel joke.
Wait, what?
That was a panel
We're sorry
question.
for distracting you.
Continue. Sorry, I was making a dumb
I
joke
have
about my own
ADHD.
question.
I'm so sorry.
It's cool.
So are we claiming? I would say that there is, and this is what I say for the New York scene. And like, shout out New York. Yo, Brooklyn proud, where you at? Brooklyn low. Fucking Brooklyn punks, let's fucking go. And I'm born and raised here. So I would say that like, there is a modern like a revival. I call this movement that we've started, that we've been a part of, I'm calling it the Queercore revival. This is new. This is our scene that we are bringing a brand new energy, a brand new everything to. Like, was punk queer before? Sure. Was punk black before? Sure. Was it also full of like Nazis and like fucking freaks? Yeah, absolutely. But we are bringing an entirely new perspective that we have not seen. Not like this. Definitely not like this before. And like the magic.
Evie, can I stop you there? Because I have a question.
Sure.
Because like I'm not sure if everyone here understands what she means when she says queercore revival. Because like there's like a whole movement going on. Like, are y'all hip to the fact that there's like suddenly after lockdown, like all these different scenes started showing up all over the country? Like, it's pretty sick. You want to tell them about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say just for myself, speaking from experience, I came out as trans after during lockdown. I didn't realize what was going on. Yeah. See, you get it. I didn't know what the fuck was going on, and then all of a sudden I was cut off from all my friends, and then I had all these like little feelings started creeping back in, and then I was like, oh shit, I'm a woman. What the fuck do I do about that? And so here I am, lonely, sad, freshly out, trapped in my dorm room, and I start making music. And apparently, I'm not the only one. So when I say queercore revival, I'm talking about this like fresh, new blood into the punk scene of like all these folks who just figured their shit out post-lockdown. And our world is so different post-lockdown. So is it a claiming, is it a reclaiming? I don't know, but I do know that what we're doing now is a movement, and it spans states, it spans countries. This is something completely new that has never been seen before.
Yep. Edging in Chicago, Anita Velveeta in Minneapolis, us in DC, but there's others too. I mean, Brooklyn is fucking so many bands.
We have so many bands.
Yeah.
I feel like
Shout out Crush Fund.
Shout out Crushy. Shout out 1 Hour Photo. Shout out Plastic Baby Jesus. Let's fucking go.
this
Shout
is
out
the
Lex Walton. Anyway.
Oh, sorry. This is the moment where I have to bring in the professor. Also, can I take a moment of as curator privilege? We have a bunch of zines back there. Did we end up putting JDs back there or homocore? Yes. Fuck yes. All right. So before we move on, we have material culture, Professor Hansen. So we have some like foundational queer core zines back there. We have Bruce LaBruce's JDs. if I get any of this shit wrong. So in the mid, if I do any of this wrong, can I try to give some context?
You're doing great.
Okay, great. Okay, so in the mid 1980s, when we're staring down a bunch of hyper-masculinist punks, G.G. Allen, for example, and all these fucking skinheads. I tried to explain to Jeffy back there, my girlfriend's father, G.G. Allen. It was very fun. That these super meathead folks, a bunch of queers are like, yo, we've been doing punk for a really long time. P.S. We should like really stop this shit and call it out for being what it is, which is like pretty Nazi shit, pretty terrible, masculinist, racist shit. So they put out their zines, one of which is JD's, which is Bruce LaBruce, and who else was it? I forget.
G.B. Jones.
G.B. Jones.
She was like a dyke who did like Dyke Tom of Finland, but anti-carceral art. It was really cool. If you don't know G.B. Jones, and she had a great band called Fifth Column.
Hell yeah. Oh, yeah.
I did want to respond to something that
you
said, though, if that's okay.
Anyway, in the mid-'80s, they did the shit.
I love what you were saying about, like, feeling like you're 25 and it's like, you know, like, you guys are doing this new movement, because I think that's what every group of queer people who uses punk has felt like. And I think that that's, like, one of the beautiful things about it is because, like, even though punk has been such a mess, right, it has also been so empowering. And like even like 10 years ago being in New York playing with like Choked Up Christy Rhodes band, or like the Gibbons, my friend Rachel's band, like all these really cool like queer and trans like punk bands, or there was Punk Island, you know, that was like this trans punk fest I never went to, but I gave to the Kickstarter, you know, at the beginning of Facebook, you know, so like there's been all these great waves in every city, you know, or like did anybody do Girls Rock Camp or Queer Rock Camp? Like, you know, I feel like I remember when Girls Rock Camp, I used to run one of the rock camps, it was the same thing. It was like we are fucking doing this thing, and it's different than what's been done. And like, but what is the same is the spirit of like, fuck everyone who wants us dead, because we're gonna live, because fuck you. And that's kind of like the through line, right? Whether it's like my friends who are my elders from the 70s, or you who's like Gen Z and awesome and so talented, like, you know, that's the kind of thing in queer punk that I think is the through line, right? I don't know if that
I agree,
because you're building on a history even if you don't know the history.
Well,
you
part
know?
of it is disruption, right? Like, I mean, so much music these days, and I mean, this is a bone to pick that I have, and I'm sure we have collectively, which is that there's a lot of bands now that, you know, we were talking about identity groups, right? Like it is objectively true that punk has existed across identity groups, but at least right now, there is at least a specific and significant problem around people who are of a specific identity group making music that is ostensibly generically about resistance, but aren't saying shit. Aren't saying shit or doing shit. Like, I'm watching bands who call themselves punk stay in their release cycles without saying anything about Palestine or trans rights, while themselves being trans or it's just fucking absurd. And there's something to be said about just I don't know if anyone here knows what psyoping or like culture jamming is, but like the fact that, like, I think all three of us are very acutely aware that one of the coolest things you can do as a punk band is to just, like, all of a sudden shut it all down. Mm-hmm. Or do something that no one ever expected and pop it up and show our beauty, show our fucking resistance. And that really is like a powerful thing that we are doing now. Like, I know this because you and I fought a thing in Congress a few months ago.
Yes, we did, and that shit was hard.
Do we want to tell them about that?
Well, can I bring it back just a little bit? Can we hit pause? Sorry.
Okay.
So I know
that was going to be a cool team.
We fought an anti-trans bill.
There's this guy, Mark Anderson, who is the Positive Force DC guy who organized a bunch of these benefit shows, and his entire thing was like, just fucking do the work. Yeah. Right? I was a social worker, right? And like, we're both social workers. Yeah. It's a thing that we like about each other, right? Woo. And
let's go social workers.
But like, as I said, we're all friends now, and I think, and
we're friends. It's cool.
We're friends, but like, no, I was like, I don't know about you. It's like trying to like do some like volunteering things before you like try to figure out, is this the thing I want to do? It's like they have a lot of application process. Then I show up to like all the punk shit, and it's like, yeah, just show up. We're putting some groceries together for like some grandparents down the street to serve some quarter. It's like, oh fuck, okay, great. And then like 2 hours later, you're delivering all these groceries. It's like, oh yeah, that's how you do this shit. You just fucking do it. And like that's how the punks taught me how to be an activist. And now I force Eric Adams to give money to trans people.
Damn right.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't ask permission, I just fucking do it.
But that's also the same in the queer community.
Yeah, well, right. No, I mean, like, that's how I learned to be a queer activist. And then, like, when I met all the sex workers and trans anarchists, I was just like, oh, it's the same fucking thing, right? Anyway, I'm gonna get back to the questions that I originally written down, but we also answered all of them because we're all like, Candace, yes. 5 more minutes. We have 5 more minutes? I said 8:40.
Time flies.
I'm gonna lose it. Okay, well, cool. We're doing great, everybody.
Eevie, do you have anything you want to add about that, by the way?
Just, I mean, like, really briefly, just like, you can enact change in any small way. Like, it doesn't have to be a whole big thing. It can be a group chat. It can be making a show. Like, I'm really glad we just did a second protest fest, and we had a bunch of local bands perform, and we raised $180 for New York City Migrant Solidarity. So it's just like, it's the little things that you can do to enact change, and that's fucking punk, you know? Like, yeah.
Okay, it is fucking punk, and that's the beautiful thing, and that's why we love it. But I want to get back to the tension part.
Absolutely.
Because that's part of what our discussion is here today, and I'm sorry to be a buzzkill. But, you know, we'll get to dead Kennedys, Nazi punks fuck off, right? And so let's talk a little bit about the reactionary impulse in punk. And, like, why do we still claim punk as queer people, even though we know it's there? Like, so let's talk a little bit about that sort of fascist through line. Right. And then what is the queer through line, and, like, how do we end up on the other side still feeling like we have something that feels good to us and safe?
Yeah, so, I mean, listen, when you're building a culture based on, yeah, fuck you, we're gonna do the opposite of everything that you guys say, you're gonna end up with people who are like, oh, well, what's the most countercultural thing you could possibly do? Fascism, because it is so anti-human. So, of course, you're gonna have people like that in these scenes, unfortunately. But I think that one of the most important through lines in punk is love. And, like, when we have to, like, consider the fact that, large scale, we are part of a society that cares about money, that cares about power, that cares about supremacy, and that is it. So when we do something kind for our neighbor, when we help a friend out in need, we are inherently giving a big ol' middle finger to the system, because the system doesn't want that. The system doesn't want us to distribute food to the homeless. The system doesn't want you to go to your friend's house and pat them on the shoulder when they're having a bad time. The system wants to charge us for everything. And by the system, the nebulous thing, but it's like the government, the capitalist entity that controls every single waking part of our lives is inherently anti-human. It's anti-kindness, it's anti-love. So when we care about each other and we just don't listen to that impulse to be antisocial to one another, we are doing what is anti-authoritarian inherently. And that's what I think that the through line of punk is. That's what I think the through line of being queer is. It's being anti-authoritarian. And in these times where we have essentially a fascist takeover of our country, it's so important to be there for each other, help your neighbor, help your friends, make new friends, reach out to someone at a show. Like, this is the time where we have to create community and, like, find power in our communities.
Professor, I'm gonna put you on the spot, though. I want you to give us a little history lesson, though, about these conflicting things.
Totally. I just want to say, I love that, like, you were talking about, like, feeding the homeless as part of your punk experience, because that was mine too in the early 2000s. I was, I was actually there's poor people in LA. I know nobody wants to believe that, but it's true, and we are a diverse group of people. But, I had grown up really, really poor, and, like, I saw a flyer for something called Punks Fighting Poverty, and I was like, I want to give back to my community. And so I started going to this thing and making peanut butter sandwiches at this ugly man's record store, and met one of my dearest friends she was a young kid named Jamie Fisher. We're still really close. She was actually homeless, and we've been close friends ever since, over 20 years. But anyway, so that's like because that's just as much of punk, like in our contemporary moment, as unfortunately like these fascist histories too. Like, but I love that, and I share that with you, and that is so important, right? Like taking care of each other and like a communal like idea of property. I think is like the punk fantasy, right? As part of that anti-authoritarian on the good side. But on the bad side, I mean, not a lot of people know the very quick formal history is essentially, we're all familiar with like Vivienne Westwood doing early punk fashion. Part of Vivienne Westwood's aesthetic thing was appropriating both images of queer porn and also swastikas, and these were both like central to the earliest punk t-shirts. They actually stole artwork by an artist named Jim French, who was a big fan of Tom of Finland. So there's a photo on an early Sid Vicious t-shirt with these two sexy gay guys in cowboy hats. It's a very famous image. But they stole that image and they put it on t-shirts, and they didn't even like pay that artist until he was pretty close to death, like in the last like 20 years. But then they also put swastikas on t-shirts, and this was part of a confrontational cultural practice of trying to piss everybody off all the time. There was no investment into what would actually happen by putting a swastika anywhere. But that is the foundation of punk fashion as we know it. I mean, there's lots of other stuff, but that's one of the biggest exports of punk fashion. So then what happens in California is white supremacists start seeing swastikas around, and they go, oh, wow, yeah, that's for me. And so then we start getting white supremacist punk gangs in Southern California in the late 1970s, early 1980s. Frank, who's a legend who I love, she identifies as, what is her, you know her too, Lori and Rachel, is the all-American Jewish lesbian folk singer. Yes. So that's her identity. She's like a sexy butch. She was in all the cool queer punk bands in LA in the late 1970s. But then all these Nazis were showing up. In the early days, you couldn't tell, is this a Vivienne Westwood ripoff shirt, or are you actually a white supremacist? And they would show up, and essentially the fashion gave them permission to like start to actually do white supremacy. And they would seek Kyle at her in the front row. So she actually wrote a song in 1979 called "Take Off Your Swastikas" in order to like tell people like, hey, I know you're smart. You're smarter than this. Why are you doing this? And there's actually, you can find archival footage on YouTube of her giving an interview to a European film crew who did a documentary about this exact tension in the early 80s, late 70s. And that kind of fascist impulse in the LA area is what kind of drove queer people and people of color out of the punk scene around the 1981 turn, and that's when you get like the LA hardcore thing. But unfortunately, that has kind of been a thing, at least on the West Coast, that there has been this tension. I remember I had COVID last year. I have all the vaccines, unfortunately, got it. And I was like going through the drama. There was a punk rock museum drama where they were like making a flannel with a company who somebody was a fascist who was the owner of a flannel company. And since I had COVID, I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna read every comment because I don't have any fucking thing else to do. And I'm a drama queen. And what was crazy is there was all these older boomer punks that were like, fuck you guys, Trump is the most punk rock motherfucker that's ever lived. And I was just thinking like, what a twisted comment. But I'm like, in this fucked up framework, like, he is kind of giving Gigi Allen because he is fucking up like a political like system, but it's like he's a horrible racist piece of shit. Like, but I'm like, okay, I see your point, but I disagree with your point, but I see your point, right? So, but the reason I bring it up is to say like these people, you look on their Instagram account and they're like in a Black Flag t-shirt, you know, like 55-year-old white man, like really, really deeply believes that that is true because of the Gigi Allen, fuck the system at all costs, fuck everything up, put shit on the wall. And so it sucks because punk is Eevie. Punk is also these people. Punk is me, right? Punk is us. And that is like the kind of mess of it. So that's the kind of fascist history.
All right, Hugh, who I love with every fiber of my being, just put up the you have 5 minutes left thing. So Jael, and then I will have one last question.
Well, I'm going to just speak from experience because I'm not a historian, but all of that's definitely true. The two thoughts I have in my head about the reaction, because I I mean, well, first of all, the reactionary nature of punk music, in my opinion, is an opportunity and not a flaw. For converting, for horseshoe goes both ways kinds of shit. So, for example, like when I was a reporter on the Hill and I was still doing my band while still being up there, there was one of my best sources in the Republican side of the House of Representatives was a guy named Sean who's left the Hill, and so I'm able to talk about him. Sean Kelly, good guy. And he and I bonded because his favorite fucking band in the world was Turnstile. And I was like, why is a Turnstile guy a fucking Republican? But there's probably a lot of Turnstile guys who are Republicans. And I brought him to a show, and he moshed with a lot of trans kids. And then he quit working in Congress. And one of my best friends in the world, Claire Constantine, she is a huge Pinback fan and huge punk fan. And I met her, and she was a staffer for fucking Nancy Mace. It was the day before she came out as a TERF. And she and I met, bonded over punk music. And then the TERF thing happened, and she quit that office. She quit that office. I personally think that punk music, like people who experience the joy of like a band like Black Flag, I think people get lost. People get lost in the logic loop, and I think part of it's like literally how brains are wired, right? So in the same way that like when my band was playing with Idols last year and we were touring fucking Florida, like I did not think that there would be that many people who fucked with my band, but somehow there were a ton of people who were like just meathead shud Idols fans who really, really fucked with a band fronted by a trans woman. And that tells me everything I need to know, which is that it's an opportunity, and that you shouldn't count anyone fully out until they're really fully irredeemable. So for me, like, I actually think that the inverse is actually worse. Like, if you're listening to Sabrina Carpenter and you seem like a Christo-fascist, that tells me I can't fix you. And I'm done with my thought.
That was fucking amazing. Recruit. Temper said it's not enough. That was supposed to be a joke. But in any case, okay, lightning round, final bit. Thank you, friends. Okay, first of all, this was fucking great. I love all of you so fucking much. We got Eevie, you know, fucking bring it. We got a total wreck. God damn. Woo woo! I still don't understand how they recorded their entire EP in one take. I want to die. But, okay, final round. What lessons do we take from queer punk past and future to fucking fight some fascists? Now, what do we learn? I think you just gave us a lesson. But, what do we do? Lightning round.
Don't let the bastards grind you down. Simple as that.
Sick.
It might be a mess, and we just all need each other, and we need to like find ways to work together, even if people seem not perfect, and make mistakes.
Two things. The first one is that we are going to win. Woo! And the second one, as I learned recently, if you are a bassist, you should get a preamp before you go play live shows, because if you don't, the difference between your clean tone and your distorted tone will be wildly different, and people will be really confused.
Anti-fascist preamp.
Anti-fascist preamp. You really got to get that. Is it a low-end issue?
It was. I would turn the fuzz on, and either the low would get cut out or the high would get cut out. And like I was a guitarist, and then I just grabbed a bass, so I didn't know.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Anyway, we're gonna win. That's the main point.
Okay, I want to say a thing that you taught me also, and I want to synthesize some shit that you all taught me. This entire crowd. Eevie, I brought this thing up. I was a big Op Ivy fan. That was like the first like real punk that I like fucking really got into. Eevie is like reclaimed ska punk for me. And like when I was listening to Eevie and the Echoes, I was like, oh, little egg in Severna Park High School in 1997 got cracked. I just didn't even know. So thank you. So it's like because of you, I'm now like, oh, that little egg in Severna Park High School in 2025 can hear this on the internet, and you are going to turn that little conservative shitbag into a trans person even earlier than we ever knew. So that's a way. Candace, your scholarship is going to just like, it's out there now, and you can synthesize all these things. I didn't even know there was someone doing this fucking work. So you're doing it. Thank you. And thank you. Like, you were the first person I talked to through all this panel. And I'm like, holy fucking shit, you exist, motherfucker. Okay, cool. And Jael, you are actually now responsible for my Blue Sky following. So first of all, thank you. And my donations to the Popular Front Project. Donate to the Popular Front Project. We are making blue states accountable and making them brave to fight fascists. Anyway, hi. But what I'm saying is you helped reinforce that you need to call the question on people. Because what you're telling me is that in the DC situation, you were reminding other punks in DC that they need to fucking forget their fucking album cycles and talk about goddamned DC.
Well, everyone should forget their album cycles.
Yeah, forget your
and
album
say
cycles.
Free Palestine and fuck ICE.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Damn right.
Free Palestine, fuck ICE, trans rights now.
Free all oppressed people.
Fucking feed people.
Land back now.
Land back now. So thank you all. You call the questions. This is what queer punks do and always have. And you all call the questions, and you have all taught me a lot about what queer punks do in this moment of fascism. So you've all taught me, and God bless you.
Thank you.
Really happy to get that message from Eevie. Thank you, Eevie, for setting us up here. We're really happy.
Y'all are awesome!
Thank you. This last song is the first song on our record. It is about trans representation in media, specifically trans women, and what I saw growing up, and that was murderers and perverts. And it couldn't be farther from the truth. Trans people are some of the kindest I've ever met. But as a young trans person, it was hard for me to see, and it took me a long time to come out because I was scared of what people might think. And this song's a collage of messages I heard from film and TV.